We are 10 hours away, people. Fiesta Bowl tonight, Ole Miss and Miami. A game that is dripping with storylines, the likes of which we have quite literally never seen before. You see the Hurricanes are a 3.5-point favorite against Ole Miss that, as Dan has said this morning, sort of feels like it's become America's team because of the storyline surrounding them and their departed coach. We've got Desmond Howard and Rece Davis up with us early this morning from Glendale, Arizona, which is so great of these guys with game day getting set to go. I know you're getting pulled in 8 million different directions, and it's early in the morning, so thank you both for getting up for us here. I want to start by playing something that I just heard for the first time. So Jimbo Fisher, who's a national championship winning coach, was on ACC Network yesterday commenting on the Lane Kiffin of it all, if you will, at Ole Miss, and I was fascinated by what he said. Let's give a listen.
No, it's selfish. That's what it is. It's stupid. And because here's why I say that. He wanted to coach and thought he didn't get his way. So everybody get on the plane with me, you don't have a job. Then he says, okay, you can go back. But here's where he screwed up.
He thought they were going to lose.
He thought they were going to lose to Georgia,
exactly.
and then the portal thing was all over with, and it was going to be all over with. And he said, "Okay, I'll look like a hero." Yeah. Now he's got egg on his face because the real Lane came back out. Because those kids are doing something that you get one time in your life to ever do.
Literally,
that team and those guys one time. And as a coach, listen, I know I've left a job. I get that. But if you took them on and said they're never coming back, that's fine. You set the rules of the game. You don't change the rules in the middle of the game. And as a coach, it's hurting the kids, and it pisses me off.
Strong words from Jimbo Fisher. I don't live in this stuff every minute of every day as you guys do. So, Rece, I'll start with you. What are the right things for fans to be thinking about the Lane Kiffin of it all as they get set to watch this game tonight?
I think I'd start with Jimbo Fisher and no lies told. No lies told. I mean, look, that's what he wanted to do, and I actually advocated for Ole Miss to let him do that simply because I thought it gave them their best chance to win. Not because of Lane Kiffin, but because of Ole Miss. They've never done anything like this. But as it turns out, they're in this position now, and I think Jimbo's right. Once the rules of engagement were set, the coaches should have been available. I've been told that there have been interruptions because of guys being pulled in different directions and so forth that have hurt them and kept them from being able to operate as smoothly as one could hope under these situations. So I think it's pretty remarkable what the guys who have stayed at Ole Miss and the ones who have tried to do double duty have done. But I guess there are only 2 guys that will be there tonight, and it's really bizarre going into the biggest game in the history of the school and not being totally sure in the days leading up to it who would be available to you to help coach. So, I think it's been a remarkable story. Great job by Pete Golding, and I think Charlie Weiss has done a really nice job too in handling both his role at LSU and still trying to guide the Rebels in the playoff offensively.
Desmond, I've got a bunch of players in here talking this morning about how the chip on the shoulder effect that this could create for the Ole Miss players might actually be the best thing driving them to this point. As putting yourself sort of in a player's position, how do you see the whole thing?
Yeah, Rece, I mean, that's a good question, Greeny. I think that in these situations, I do like to put myself in the shoes of the players because I've been there before as far as a player, but not the situation. I think that you hit it on the head, though. This is an opportunity for these guys to come together because as a player, you have a lot of confidence and faith and trust in your head coach, right? He's recruited you there. He brought you there. He made all of these promises. And so this is your guy. But for him, meaning Lane Kiffin, to look at the players and say, hey, I think I have a better opportunity to achieve my goals, live out my dreams and my ambitions in coaching and win a national championship in Baton Rouge with those players as opposed to you guys who I brought here to Oxford, then it's a slap in the face to the players. And they're going to take it personally. It's going to hurt them. There's going to be a lot of emotions involved. But then once the emotions settle and Lane is gone and Peter stepped in, who they're very familiar with because he's on staff, it just galvanizes everybody who's there. And now they have one of the strongest senses of motivation going through the CFP. So that's exactly what it is. It's a situation, not only do they want to, I guess prove Lane Kiffin wrong, but they want to prove that they can do it without him. And it's so funny that you look at the situation with Brian Kelly when, he left Notre Dame to go to Baton Rouge because he assumed that he could win national championships there. And then Notre Dame ended up going to the national championship game and losing against Ohio State. And now here you got same scenario. Kiffin leaves Ole Miss, and now Ole Miss is in the CFP and one game away, one win away for playing for the national championship.
That game will be tonight. If Miami wins, they will play for the national title in their home stadium, which no team has ever done before. So that's the big storyline tonight. Then tomorrow night, so many storylines in the Big Ten rematch. And Rece, you sent me a note the other day. I'll let you tell everybody what it is you said, because I had asked the question when Indiana beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl. When have we ever seen this? This is the most remarkable turnaround, the most remarkable story we've seen in the sport since what? And Rece, what was your answer to that?
During commercial break, you said Northwestern used to schedule Indiana for homecoming.
We did.
Indiana until this year was the losingest program in the history of the sport. Now, Desmond, has referred to me as a historian. I want to give proper respect to what Bill Snyder did at Kansas State, but that was a slower build in a different era and a remarkable turnaround because they were in similar straits. But I always think back to what our friend Pete Thamel said early on after Indiana hired Curt Cignetti, and that was Curt Cignetti has an unshakable belief in Curt Cignetti, and it's well-founded because they continually raise the bar of what the greatest moment in Indiana football history is. First it was winning that road game at Oregon. They'd never done anything like that. Then it was winning the Big Ten championship against Ohio State. Hadn't done anything like that in 80 years, different era. And then demolishing Alabama in the Rose Bowl to be this close to a national championship. We've never seen anything like this, particularly in this short a period of time. And it is a sight to behold because this is a well-oiled, precise demolition machine that Indiana puts out on the field.
Yeah, and I think because they are Indiana, some fans still have a hard time letting it sink in completely. Desmond, go ahead.
Real quick, Greeny, I think Holly Rowe was talking to Curt right after the Rose Bowl, and he said, "Why should we belong? Because our name's Indiana?" Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's part of the reason the story's so great.
It's true. It's true. I mean, Indiana was always Bob Knight. It was not supposed to be this. Desmond, how about how good this team is? People around the country who, again, may sell them short because they're Indiana. The job that Cignetti has done there, the performance of Mendoza this year, and how dominant this team has been. Desmond, through your eyes, what are you seeing in this year's Indiana Hoosiers?
The most impressive thing, Greeny, is that they're not just winning games, like they're beating teams, and they're beating teams into submission. The game going on the road to Eugene and beating this Oregon team who, I guess a week or two before had pulled off a great win on the road against Penn State, and then taking on, obviously, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. You didn't walk away from that game thinking, oh, man, Ohio State, should have won that game. You walked away saying, wow, Indiana just beat Ohio State. And, of course, the game we saw on January 1, the Rose Bowl, when they made Alabama tap out. So they're not just winning games. It's like Rece said, they're such a well-oiled machine that you don't see anybody getting into their way and stopping them. And it's been extremely impressive to watch them go about their business this season.
And tomorrow night's game, I can guarantee, I don't know what the audience will be, but I guarantee you every NFL scout will be watching it because of the quarterback matchup. Rece, for those who aren't intimately familiar, can you set the scene? Fernando Mendoza against Dante Moore.
I think and I heard you guys talking about it a few minutes ago, Greeny, and you're right on it. I mean, Fernando Mendoza is, so precise. He's so smart. The floor is very high for him. He's going to be successful. Pardon me. I think Dante is too. I do think that, the idea that if Dante Moore can find a way to take apart this Indiana defense, that it will do wonders for him in terms of the opportunity to be the #1 overall pick. But I think both of these guys have a high probability of having great success in the NFL. They're both gifted passers. They're both good leaders. They both maintain their composure. It's they're really high-level quarterbacks, and it'll be fun to watch them tomorrow night in Atlanta.
Yeah, the comparison very quickly, Desmond, that people have made on this show a couple times this week was the C.J. Stroud game, the game that he played against Georgia in the national semifinals a few years ago, and he went from some people having questions to being a surefire can't miss. Does Dante Moore have that chance if he plays big tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think Dante Moore has a chance to move to QB1. There's no doubt about that. Earlier in the season, he was a Heisman candidate. Everyone thought that he'd have a trip to New York and be up there as a finalist. Then obviously they stumbled against Indiana, but he has all the arm talent. I love his composure. He has a high football IQ, and yeah, he has a chance to do something really significant starting tomorrow night.